In this video, we explain block indices and corresponding coordinates. We review the anatomy of a block command, block partitions, reduced indices and partitions, and explain the basic parameterization made possible by this system. To create a mesh in TrueGrid, we need two things: the geometry or surfaces we want to project the mesh to, and the mesh. In this video, we're going to dissect and explain the mesh. You will find this page in your training manual. You should start TrueGrid and build this mesh so that you can follow along in a live session of TrueGrid. We will examine the anatomy, terminology, relationships, and reasons for the mesh structure you see here. Here is the TrueGrid block command. In the I direction, we go from 1 to 6 to 9 to 13 to 18. In the picture of the mesh, we see I going left to right, and its nodes 1, 6, 9, 13, and 18 are each represented by partitions, shown here as black lines. A partition is like a slice of the mesh, and they are named corresponding to their node number, originating from the block command we entered to create the mesh. We call the partition nodes that were created from the block command our full indices, but we have a second, more natural way to count the partitions from left to right with sequential integers 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we call these our reduced indices, as they are always smaller than the full indices. Then we have corresponding coordinates, one per partition node.
Now, the advantage of this is that I can build a part and manipulate it, project it, delete regions, do all sorts of things, move things around, and come back later. I can change the numbers in this row. I can't change the number of numbers, but instead of going from 1 to 6, I could go from 1 to 11, and then to 19, and then to 33. And then to 58. I would not have to change any other command because all other commands refer to the partition sequence number instead of the node numbers. We forget node numbers. We just ignore them. We think of them in terms of block structure using reduced indices or the sequence numbers of these partitions. And we do it in all three directions. There are many levels of parameterization in TrueGrid. This is one of them. We have parameterized the numbers in the block command so that now instead of 1, 6, 9, 13, and 18, we think of it as 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Again, the reason is we can change the number of elements or the number of nodes without having to change any other subsequent commands. In the Y direction, that's these numbers here, we have nodes 1, 4, and 8. We think of this as two blocks, partitions 1, 2, and 3. And these are the Y coordinates. And finally, in the Z direction, that's from here to here, we have nodes 1 to 5, but we think of it in terms of partition numbers 1 to 2, with Z coordinates of 0 to 4. And that is our basic formula for building parts in TrueGrid. Now, there are other methods, but this method or this notation that represents this block is the most commonly used. So this is the one we want to learn first and foremost, is how to use this block part.